All right. Well, hello there. Carol Dockum here with beautifulfacesgoingplaces.com. And we have our special guest today for our business spotlight is Betsy Clark. She's based out of Colorado Springs. She is a mindset coach. And I don't know about you, but I mean, seriously, mindset is where it's at in terms of success in your personal life and in your business. So a little bit about Betsy. She's a mindset coach, and she is on a mission to help other women find their voice and develop their business with purpose. Betsy guides them to experience more joy, more hope, and focus in the process. As a public speaker and a coach, she empowers women to understand themselves better and to step into inspired action with clarity, focus, and hope. So please help me welcome Betsy Clark from Colorado Springs. I invited her here today to really speak on the topic of comparison, the thief of joy. So welcome, Betsy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Carol. It's really fun to connect with you again. You and I met about, a year or two ago, and we've always been looking at ways that we can collaborate. So what a joy. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for saying yes. And I know when I first initially met you, one of my passions is mindset. And I think, for example, my favorite quote is by Henry Ford. If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. And if you really step back and think about that, it's like, yes, can I or can I not? So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's the stories we tell ourselves and the things we think about that really determine where we go or don't go in life. And so for me, your mindset matters. That's my tagline.
Yes.
I'll stick to it till my last breath, because I think that's what distinguishes where we land in life. Do we accomplish the things we say we want to do or not? And it begins here. Fear dwells between the ears. So, I think that it's time to have these kinds of conversations for women who are entrepreneurs and business women.
Right, exactly. And it is so relevant. So, and I know that you recently, you do a lot of speaking engagements. You're a speaker, trainer, a coach, and you facilitate workshops. And you recently did a speaking presentation on comparison. And I am just so in alignment with that, because it's so easy for us to step back as women entrepreneurs, and we see so-and-so, and it looks like they're just shining bright, but we really don't know, the steps that they took to get where they're at. So, and they think, gosh, why am I not, that far ahead in my business journey or my life journey? And it really does suck the life out of you.
Well, Teddy Roosevelt said that comparison is the thief of joy, and I absolutely agree with that. I think that comparison is rampant in our culture today. I think that it's a conversation worth having, and comparison is not all bad. We need to compare and contrast. That's how we measure, that's how we grow. But the issue is it comparison that's, you're circling the drain? And I think that's really the distinguishing piece is, what is the impact? We all have our stuff. We all have our issues. Welcome to humanity.
Right.
What's the impact? Is comparison moving the needle forward, or is it causing you to hesitate and to stall out? And that, to me, that's one of the first things that we need to be asking ourselves is, what is the fruit of comparison? Is it helpful, or is it hindering me? And so I don't want to throw comparison out with the baby with the bathwater. Comparison has its place. And yet, I think that if we don't have an intelligent conversation about comparison, then we're at its beck and call. And we are confused. How is it that I'm not doing the things I say I want to do? How come my business isn't where it is supposed to be? And so there's some elements about comparison I think are important to talk about. So You said it so perfectly. You go into a meeting and you walk in and you're feeling like, wow, I really belong here. And then you see the star and she's surrounded by all these women and she's holding court and you're going, wow, huh. I thought I had a place at the table, but if they really knew what was going on inside, and intellectually, but in your heart of hearts, you're going, oh, wow, I just don't measure up. She's further ahead than I am. She's, much more eloquent than I. Look at all those people. They're just hanging on every word. And that to me is not helpful.
Right.
It's just not helpful. And so we really need to show up as our best self, confidently, showing up as we intend. And I think that's the definition of confidence, is showing up as you intend consistently. Who do you be? Who are you? Are you clear on who you are? Or are you taking everyone else's answers for your life and living out someone else's answers? That's what conditioning is.
Yes. Yes. And what does that take, though? I mean, that really takes an awareness, doesn't it?
It takes this kind of conversation.
Right. I know, because you're making me really think here, which is awesome, and I do think it's having that awareness. And once you're aware of, this situation, this example that you just shared, you're attending some event and you see this brilliant woman, and the magnetism that she has, but then you step back and say, you know what, for me, I would think, oh, this is your audience. This is, she's on that stage to deliver a message or a value and of service. And, that is her time to shine.
But oftentimes we judge ourselves before she even gets on the stage.
Right.
We don't even give ourselves a chance. And so this is really the crux of the issue. And it's grace.
Yeah.
And so I give out grace cards wherever I go. And I know I've given you some because I give them to everybody. Yeah. And so for me, grace is loving, accepting, and forgiving yourself. And I love it. And people say, well, how do I remember what that is? And the acronym is LAUGH: love, accept, and forgive yourself. And loving and accepting can be challenging, but forgiving ourselves, are you kidding? And the best definition I know of forgiveness is letting go of the past you wish you'd had. Letting go of the past you wish you'd had.
Yes.
Lighten up. We're all doing the best we can. I mean, fundamentally, I believe that. And you said something earlier, when we know better, we do better. Mm-hmm. And so if you're new in business or you've been around the block, I've been an entrepreneur for 42 years, commit to being a lifelong learner. Hold yourself in account to someone else. Have a mentor, have an accountability partner, someone who's going to hold your feet to the fire. Because as a businesswoman, it's as easy to not do it as it is to do it. And they cost you very different things.
Right.
And so when we give ourselves grace, and I use the acronym for grace as giving radical acceptance consciously every day. And sometimes that means giving it to yourself. And sometimes it means giving it to someone else. And because we're givers, women are givers by nature.
Yes, we are.
There's another acronym, it's getting radical acceptance consciously every day. How well are we receiving? Mm-hmm. How well are we receiving? Because if we're always giving, we're in control. But we're very vulnerable when we receive. Have you ever thought about that?
I have not, actually. Yeah. I think I'm too busy giving.
Right. And what happens is it becomes an imbalance. We're just sort of going around in circles because all we're doing is giving and we never take time to receive. So you can give yourself grace all day long, but if you don't receive the grace, if you don't get the grace and the permission to receive it,
yes, right.
What good?
Yes.
And so you're going, Betsy, how does this relate to comparison? Let me go one step further, and then we'll go back to comparison, okay? Because to me, this is all very interrelated. So grace is not the same as an excuse card, because sometimes I give people these grace cards and they go, oh, this is great. This will be great when I don't feel like doing something. I just give myself grace. No, 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 no. This is spelled Grace, not Excuse, right? It's very different. So grace is big. Grace gives us courage. Grace gives us hope. It calls us to the better thing because we've lightened up and we're not comparing ourselves to everyone else. We're not hammering ourselves. We're not being a mean girl to ourselves when we give ourselves grace. Excuses make us small. And excuses help us justify not doing the right thing or the thing that makes us uncomfortable. And so I really want to talk about the difference between grace and excuses. Make sure you're giving yourself grace, not an excuse to let yourself off the hook, because grace is a reprieve. It's unmerited favor. It's undeserved. It's given freely. So when we take that grace, we can step into our power and stop beating ourselves up, stop second guessing ourselves, all the things that go on inside our mind. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And so, grace is critically important.
Yes.
Forgiveness is a huge part of grace. Can you forgive yourself of some of the things that you've done in the past? Are you doing the work? Are you asking for grace to those that you need to ask forgiveness of? I mean, these things are really central. It's about how do we view ourselves? Are we stepping into our power? Are we being our best self? Because if we are, we have to be true to ourselves. We have to get rid of some of this stuff that this baggage, this stuff we carry around. Some of us are exhausted because we're just carrying our past. We're not forgiving ourselves. We're not giving ourselves grace. We're comparing ourselves. I mean, we're beating ourselves up and we're exhausted by the time we even get to work. And I know that sounds like it's an exaggeration, but I want to make a point here.
Yes, it's not an exaggeration at all. And you're absolutely right. Carrying that baggage day in and day out and being a continual giver without giving yourself grace. Yes, that leads to exhaustion and burnout. And yes, many other, really healthcare issues. And that's what creates that being stuck. Yeah, that vicious circle. I totally see it. I've been there myself. So
well, and sometimes we're just martyrs.
Yeah.
Because we're giving all the time and we're fixing everything all the time. We never take time to receive. We're really blocking a blessing. When we don't receive something from someone, we're going, no. I don't need that. You need what I give you, but I don't need what you're giving me. And we wonder why our friendships and our relationships aren't equitable. They feel lopsided. How do we bring balance in to our relationships? I mean, I'm really getting off balance. I'm really getting off track here, but it feels like this is where the conversation is going. We really need to stop and take time to give ourselves grace and other people grace.
Yes.
Fundamentally, we're doing the best we can.
Exactly. Yes. No, I totally, it's all interrelated. It really is. And I know you said something earlier about, when we were talking about comparison, and it's even more so prevalent today. This conversation, I believe, is even more prevalent today and necessary, considering a social media and the access that, with technology and everybody's on their cell phones, or they're continuously tapped in almost 24/7. Do you know what I mean? And not being present with the people that they're with. And, with this trend, and it's becoming more of a cultural thing. I mean, we're seeing the impact on not only us as grown-ups and entrepreneurs, but with our adolescents and our youth. And that's just, my own personal observation. And so that whole comparison, because we have technology, social media, and access to, everyone else's lives, and that comparison factor can creep in there, and then affects confidence and affects self-esteem and all of that stuff.
Right, right. I liken it to, have you ever seen a sidewalk that's just freshly been poured? It's all wet cement.
Yes.
And we're like 6 and 7. We're like wet cement. And those things in life, they come in and they leave really deep impressions, and they're lasting impressions.
Mm-hmm.
And it can take a lifetime to fill those impressions with the right things. And so what concerns me is when I look at these adolescents who are attached to their phone, and you know what, we all struggle with that attachment to our electronics. I mean, it's not just adolescents. Let me be clear about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But here's the deal: is we're looking at social media, and I call it fake book, because I know a lot of the people in my Facebook group, and I know a lot of the behind the scenes. But what happens is, Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
Yes.
Carol, here's the deal. We give our consent when we compare the worst we know about ourselves to the best we presume about someone else. That's social media.
Right.
We give our consent when we compare our behind the scenes, us not at our best, with someone else's highlight reels. And the majority of what's on Instagram and Facebook, all the other platforms, is people at their best. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when we're always believing that's true of them, what's wrong with me, it's devastating to your self-worth and your self-esteem and your self-value. It's a challenge. I mean, we see it in business. You go into a big networking event and you compare your fledgling business with someone else's more senior success. And that, I talk about that from stage. Yes, I have been an entrepreneur for 42 years, but please do not compare your business with my business, because I'm older than dirt and I've been around the block, and you're just starting out. That's a setup. That's you giving your consent to feel less than.
Right.
I think that Eleanor Roosevelt nailed it with that quote.
She did. Yes, that is one of my favorite quotes as well.
It's powerful.
Yes,
and
it's very powerful.
Teddy Roosevelt's the one, comparison is a thief of joy. So I feel like I'm bookend with the Roosevelts on this comparison issue. And it's, my son just got married a couple of months ago. And so I got a mother of the groom fashion magazine. It's like this thick, right? And so I'm going through this fashion magazine, and it's like, the further I get along, I'm going, wow, there's some really strong messages here. I'm wrinklier than everybody else in that magazine. No. I don't have the fashion sense they do. And clearly I don't know how to apply makeup the way they do. And so I thought, okay, being a coach, I went through and I got my little pen knife and I cut out all the pictures of the images, the pages, these beautiful glossy pages that made me feel less than and set me up for comparison. And by the time I got through, I had maybe 20 pages of content. And women are just, they thrive on these magazines. They can't wait until the newest fashion magazine comes out. And I'm not, I'm not dissing the fashion industry, but I'm just saying, when you look at those kinds of magazines, be very clear. It's set up so that you feel less than, so you go out and buy the latest fashion. And we let the latest fashion and comparison define us. And I'm not sure that that's sustainable and healthy for us.
Right,
I'm
right.
concerned.
Well, I completely understand what you just went through. My daughter got married last year, and my son the year before, and this is crazy. I just want to share this because it was, I think, 2 weeks before my daughter's wedding, and I still did not have a dress. So, and she was panicking for me, and I just said, don't worry, I'll find something. Finally, just went online. I'm like, okay, I need a V-neck. It's got to be stretchy fabric, so it'll stretch with me.
Yes.
Ordered two, and they both were perfect. And I'm like, see, this worked out just quite well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, but you're absolutely right. And the reason why I think I had not ordered a dress until 2 weeks out was because I was like, compare. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to look like any of these pictures or models in the catalog. So
Right.
yes,
Right.
so I totally get it. And why do we do this to ourselves? I think that's the biggest thing. Or, how do we create that awareness so that we know what's going on here, right? In
Right.
between our ears, and then switch it. So
Well, it's funny because, I have a couple of topics that I talk on to business women, and without doubt, it's always about grace and it's always about comparison.
mhm.
It's those two things. And I don't know. I think that these kinds of conversations, they heighten our awareness. And again, I said it earlier, when we know better, we do better.
Right.
And having these conversations, we can create accountability, because accountability is imperative if we're going to succeed, whether it's relationally in our personal life or if it's in our business. And I think that what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. What we're not held accountable to really gets delayed and stalled out.
Right. Right. Well, gosh, Betsy, I don't know if there's any. I'm just trying to think. How can we wrap up this conversation? Because I know, as I shared earlier, mindset. I'm very passionate about mindset and really understanding and being aware of your thoughts, because your thoughts do create things. Your thoughts create your reality, and and how to alleviate or address comparison, particularly women. I mean, we just have that natural tendency to do that, and it is a thief of joy. So I'm trying to think of some great ways to wrap up.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, yes.
Here's a great way to wrap this up. We all think we need to be fixed. And I want not only to give these viewers a grace card, but I want to say to each one of you, you don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be fixed. Honestly, what needs to happen is you need to have someone who loves you put the mirror to your face to remind you of what your brilliance is, what only you can bring to the table. No one has ever built your business before. So own that. Step into your power, be your best self. And, the joke is, the only thing, in my estimation, and I don't want to be offensive, the only thing that needs to be fixed is stray cats and dogs. Do not need to be fixed. Men do not need to be, our kids don't need to be fixed. We're all evolving, we're all growing. And, well, most of us are growing, those that are intentional about their growth. And so that's where I think, if you're giving yourself an excuse card to not grow, to not improve, to not progress, and I'm not saying be perfect, I'm saying we're looking at progress, not perfection. So Michael J. Fox has this great quote: I'm very careful not to confuse progress with perfection. Progression is up to me. Perfection is up to God. I botched that, but it's the sum and substance. So if you're progressing, yay on you. That's giving yourself some grace. If you're not progressing and you're not growing, stop and measure. Am I just making excuses? Am I not holding myself accountable? So one of the things that I have available on my website, if I'm able to share this.
Absolutely, yes.
If you're interested in a free downloadable accountability journal, it's called Be True to You. Go to www.betsyclarkllc.com, and you can you can get a copy of this accountability journal, and it's a series of exercises. It's not like a journal where you write copious notes, but it's a series of exercises to give you some oomph, to create some momentum, to hold yourself accountable, and some questions that only a coach would ask you, that might be a little uncomfortable, but you know what, work through it. Because again, as we know better, we do better. And that's really the desire behind that tool, is so that you will heighten your awareness. It's when we're blind to our blind spots that we're clueless. And so these kinds of conversations, and what you're doing, Carol, kudos to you. It's really important to have these kinds of conversations. And so thank you for the opportunity to be on this with you. And I hope that your viewers get something that's juicy, that motivates them to take the next best step. Because you know what, we all need grace. None of us need to be fixed.
Yes.
And, I just want to encourage you, don't lose momentum because you're stuck in comparison.
Yes. Betsy, thank you so much. Seriously, it's a gift to have you here on our program at beautifulfacesgoingplaces.com. And please go and visit BetsyClarkLLC.com and grab her accountability journal that she's offering for free. And I know you also have some other great programs. You've got your Confidently You program, your accountability program, and you are available for speaking engagements as well. So if you want to take this another step further, just reach out to Betsy. I know she would love the opportunity to chat with you. So
thank you. Yes,
yes.
that's right.
Well,
Carol,
thank you. Yes, thank you. All right, take care. And I just want to say, go confidently on your journey. And thank you again for joining us. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.